Ranjana, 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 Bhajana, Ranjana, Jamuna Tira, Vanachani, Jamuna Tira, Vanachani, Jayarat, Amadava, Kundabihadi, Jayarat, Amadava, Kundabihadi, Gopi Jana Bala, Giridhari Dhari, Gopi Jana Bala, Giridhari Dhari, Suranandana, Bhajana Ranjana, Dasoranandana, Bhajana Ranjana, Dasoranandana, Bhajana Ranjana, Dasoranandana, Bhajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira, Vanachani, Jamuna Tira, Jayo Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jayo Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare That's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So, just before I get into the class, this is a very famous verse, and it's a very long purport. So I was going to just read like maybe one paragraph, or see how it flows, or two paragraphs, then stop and ask for questions, comments, like that, and have discussion. It's like a 3-page purport, but part of that page is in really small print, so at least 3/4 of the page. So it's an extensive purport. So anyway, I'm just letting you know what the format is for today. Okay? Because I don't really have anything. I mean, let's.
I'm so excited that you're giving class today, because today is Prabhupada's arrival day anniversary in New Orleans and New Talavana.
Yeah, I'm just. So let me just ask a quick question. So he came. I was in Atlanta at the time. So he came to New Orleans, and he spent the day in New Orleans, and then came the next day here.
Yes.
And then he spent the day here and went back to New Orleans and left.
Yes.
Okay. So actually tomorrow is the day he came here.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And he cooked here.
Yes. We had 14
In
years ago.
Gokula, Ranjana, Prabhu ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Here.
You knew you wouldn't want that.
44th
I take it.
August 1975. Very famous class.
Okay, no, it isn't. It was Maha, and now it's. It's been diffused.
Or utilized.
So that means 30 degrees Celsius, is that what it means?
I think it's not working at first, if you ask me.
It's got to be changed.
Someone changed it to 30, it used to be on Fahrenheit.
No,
So that's Celsius.
It's not working, I think.
Because there's different settings, there's cool, there's fan, there's heat.
You can try it, it's not working.
So 30 degrees Celsius, how does that work again? Anyway, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasating Vyasam Tatam Jayam Mudiriye. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, to Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master.
Haribo, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Pradaya Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vajani Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pasyatari Sata Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
So we have the Sanskrit up there, is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Swami.
Okay, here we go. So first. Swa
Swa
Vid
Vid
Varahostra
Varahostra
Karai
Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samstuta
Samstuta
Purusha
Purusha
Pasu
Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Na
Na
Yat
Yat
Karna
Karna
Pato Peto
Pato
Na Yat Karna Pato Peto Jatu
Jatu
Nama
Nama
Gadagraja
Gadagraja
Jatu Nama Gadagraja
Jatu Nama Gadagraja
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samstuta Purusha Pasu Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayat Karna Pato Peto
Nayatana Pato Peto
Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha
Jatu Nama Gadagraja
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayat Karna Pato Peto
Nayatana Pato Peto
Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha Swavid Varahostra Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samstuya Purusha Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayat Karna Pato Peto
Nayatana Pato Peto
Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha
Jatu Nama Gadagraja
Someone else.
Swavid Varahostro Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samstuta Parasho Pasu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayakana Pato Peto
Nayat Karna Pato Peto
Jatu Nama Gadagraja
Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Swavid Varahostra Karai
Samsuta Purusha Pashu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayat Karna Patho Peto
Nayakana Pato Peto
Jatu Nama Gadagrajaha
Jatu Nama Gadagajana Swari Karo Sakarai Sasudha Purusha Pasu Nayakana Pato Edo Jatu Nama Gadagajana.
Very good.
I'm thinking about the melody with that few changes. I want to.
Yeah.
Sadhikaro Strakarai
Swadivarastokarai
Samstuta Purusha Pashu
Samstuta Purusha Pasu
Nayatkana Pato Peto
Nayakana Pato Edo
Jacunama Gadagajana
Jatu Nama Gadagajana Swadivarastokarai Samstuta Purusha Pasu Nayakana Pato Peto Jatu Nama Gadagajana.
Okay, so Swa,
Swa,
a dog.
a dog.
Vit,
Vid,
Varaha,
Varaha,
the village hog,
the village hog
who eats stool.
who eats stew.
Ustra, the
Ustra,
camel.
the camel.
Karai, and
Karai,
by the asses.
and by the asses.
Samstuta,
Samtuta,
perfectly praised.
perfectly praised.
Purusha, a
Purusha,
person.
a person.
Pasu,
Pasu,
animal.
animal.
Na,
Na,
never.
never.
Yat,
Yat,
of him.
of him.
Karna,
Karna,
ear.
ear.
Pata,
Pata,
half.
hath.
Upeta,
Upeta,
reached.
reached.
Jatu,
Jatu,
any time.
at any time.
Yes, at any time. Yeah. Nama,
Nama,
the holy name.
the holy name.
Gadagaja,
Gadagaja,
Lord Krishna, the deliverer from all evils.
Lord Krishna, the deliverer from all evils.
Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. So please repeat. Men who are like dogs,
Men who are like dogs,
hogs, camels, and asses,
hogs, camels, and asses.
praise those men
Praise those men
who never listen
who never listen
to the transcendental pastimes
to the transcendental pastimes
of Lord Shri Krishna,
of Lord Shri Krishna,
the deliverer from evils.
the deliverer from evil.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So remember, I'll read about a paragraph, maybe I'll go a little bit beyond that, but just try to listen, so then if you have some comment or question on that paragraph, then we can go from there. We may not finish it today, because it's a very extensive purport. The general mass of people, unless they are trained systematically for a higher standard of life and spiritual values, are no better than animals. And in this verse, they have particularly been put on the level of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Modern university education practically prepares one to acquire a doggish mentality with which to accept the service of a greater master. After finishing a so-called education, the so-called educated person move like dogs from door to door with applications for some service, and mostly they are driven away, informed of no vacancy. As dogs are negligible animals and serve the master faithfully for bits of bread, a man serves a master faithfully without sufficient rewards. And this was written in the early 60s, in India. And now it's like even more relevant because the educational system, the way it's set up, it's just, it's huge. I mean, it used to be you could get there were state universities and, they were very reasonably priced, and sometimes they were even free, a nominal fee. And now, by the time you finish your education, first of all, most of the knowledge, if it's in certain fields, is going to be obsolete. And in certain other fields, you're not really going to be needed. Like say, what if you study English literature? I mean, how many jobs are there in English literature? You get a master's and PhD in English literature. I mean, unless you're a very rare person who can, use that in some way, become a professor or something. So now, even if you get into some field that is, there's a lot of need. The chances are that the field has changed by the time you finish your education, but also you have such a debt, and the interest rate's so high. I mean, we're talking like $100,000 to $300,000 in debt before you even start to work. And then on top of that, now if you're having you can't even think about a family at that point, and all, and then to get into a good field, a good job market, that's the most expensive place to live. The cities, the cost of living is so high that the salaries don't actually match the cost of living. They just barely get by and pay off your debts. You're working to pay off your educational debts. But also, it's like Prabhupada says here, this education is training you just to become qualified to be very two-legged dogs. Prabhupada used to say, Dvipadapasu. Maybe it's in the Bhagavatam. It means two-legged animals. That this human civilization is the royal edition of animal society. And basically, what our process, Prabhupada taught us, is the first thing is not to become animals. Not to be animals, to become human beings. No illicit sex life, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. And the chanting of 16 rounds is the beginning of becoming a civilized human being. Then you begin your practice, your spiritual practice, and try to understand that you're not there, your body. Does anyone else have something they'd like to say? Yes.
You said the description, or at least talked about how a dog behave.
Yeah.
When we are out there, when we see the guys, do we look for those things in a person to identify that they are acting like a dog?
What?
How does that work?
Well,
Like
this was
the
talking about.
characteristics of the dog.
Well, this
Imagine
place, Prabhupada was talking about that after you get your education, you have your diploma, you go door to door begging for a job, just like a dog is looking for a master to take care of him, and he'll serve you. The dog will serve you, and then he has, protection, shelter, and food. So, whereas actually a Brahmin never works for some. He's always independent. Even there's one Prabhupada used. He told on one class on this verse. I think it was. He was talking. No, it was somebody else gave this class. I think I heard somebody like Borjan speaking about it. He said that about 300 years ago, over in Krishnagar, there was a very, very, very pious Brahmin, and he was very poor, extremely poor. And the governor of that area, his name was Ramakrishna or something like that, and hence the name Krishnagar. He's Prabhupada or Borjan the same. And he heard about this Brahmin, how qualified he was, and so he went to him and said, I want to help you any way, anything you need. He said, no, I don't need anything. I said, what? But you're very poor. You have what? But you have no, barely, just a hut, and what food do you have? He said, well, my students, they bring me whatever rice they can find in the field, or they can beg, and then this tree here has some leaves, and I pick the leaves off the tree, and then my wife with some water, we boil that, and that's plenty of food.
Wow.
I don't need anything. I have a nice little grass hut, like that. And so that's Brahminical life. And then the Kshatriya, he's in the administrative class, and he's not working for someone else. I mean, he serves the citizenry. He serves the public, and then the Vaishyas, they're expert in doing business or producing food grains, and they're mercantile. So then left is the Sudras, and the Sudras are very good servants, and they're satisfied, Prabhupada said, with some cloth, a place to sleep, and something to eat. Some nice place to sleep, some nice clothes to wear, clean, not opulent necessarily, and some enough food stuff, and the Sudra will be satisfied. As long as they are occupied, they have engagement, occupation. That's the way the society goes. So this educational system teaches you to get a big degree, and it's a piece of paper that says you're qualified. But just like, my experiences recently with the medical world, just because a person has a degree on his wall doesn't mean he's a good doctor or a good surgeon. How do you know that? I'd like to see their grades, or some write-up. You can't even, I don't know if this is something recent, but because I seem to recall 10, 12 years ago, I was able to look up some comments about the people, the surgeons, but you can't do that anymore.
No, you can do that. I just have to Google the person. They have different websites that do reviews.
I've been trying. Well, I'd like to find out because I've been trying to look into that.
Yeah, they have reviews. They have reviews, and they have the full.
Yeah, because I've been doing their names, Googling it, and going like that, and they'll just tell you the minimal. And I asked them, one of the surgeons, or the one that was talking, he said, "Well, no, we their medical lobby has done something, but maybe there's still ways to do it. I'm sure on the internet there's a way to do everything, if you know what you're doing." And I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm the first one. Any little anything that happens, and I'm immediately I panic. I don't know what's going on.
You're lucky.
Huh?
You're lucky you're not on the internet.
I am on the internet now. I've been on the internet for a year and a half.
So addictive.
But, every now and then things, surprise me. So, but anyway, so I'll move on to the next paragraph, unless something else comes to someone's mind. So that's the way I'd like to try to do it. I mean, I can say a few things, and then just because it's a very long purport, and it has a lot in it. There's a lot to talk about.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Yeah, on the same point, going to the university, getting a degree and going door to door. I remember just after I finished my PhD, I was like, okay, now I'm going to do it. I'm going to get big money. I'm going to get a job. I applied to 300 different places.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them, and it was just in the wake of, Katrina and everything. So
Here in America.
Yeah, here in America.
See, and that is around the time when it started to really become more and more that all applications you had to do them online. The very few, you send in a resume online, and if you're lucky, then maybe, you get an interview.
Right.
So, and I find that incredibly impersonal. I mean, it's like my mother always used to say, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know somebody in that field, and they say, yeah, I can talk to so-and-so,
Right.
like that. But if you're just like one of, 1,000 people putting in your resumes, who knows who's looking at it, who's going through it. Yes?
One of the
Go ahead.
One of the, I guess, human resource personnel said the average time spent on a resume can be anywhere from 5 seconds to a minute or so, and they just go through it.
There's only certain, and mostly they already know who they're going to hire. It really is about who you know. Yeah.
I never even got replies to my those applications. And a few which went past that, that initial stage, they said, we are very sorry, we have gone through your application, but we find that our requirements are basically a refusal, And then finally when I went to my Guru Maharaj, he said, what do you need a job for? You already have a job in ISKCON.
Yeah. You know, when
And that
I
was the end
tried
of
to do
that.
that, whenever I tried to do it after, in a long, but anyway, I kept being told that I was too qualified. Or one time they told me I was too polished. I said, what does that mean? They said, well, you'll probably just find something else and move on. And I said, well, no, I can get myself scruffy if you want. Yeah. Yeah. I can be rough around the edges. Yeah, yes.
That's a complimentary way
Of
to
saying-
leave you with a positive sort of spin that we know who we're going to hire. I went to a job interview and then traveled from one state to another to do it and was told the job is already taken. They had set the interview up and didn't, and then they told me it was given to the hospital director's nephew.
That's what I mean.
So it was like, what?
Yeah. When I finally did find something, it was an interesting coincidence. It was definitely Krishna's arrangement. It was I went through a series of what I mentioned before, these Draupadi moments, where everything, I had no hope, no shelter, everything was taken. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. From out of nowhere, things happened. And you just go, this is Krishna. Because I was literally like, I was totally, I can't do this, Krishna. This is, I'm just throwing my arms up like that. You know what my problems are. And then just one thing. Well, and actually, in one of those cases, I had to have a huge, serious car accident. And it wasn't my fault. And that led to getting money for the vehicle. They told me it wasn't worth anything, but then all of a sudden it became worth a few $1,000s. And then I'm going to the insurance company, and then I'm sitting in the lobby talking to someone. Someone overhears me talking and say, "Oh, I could use you." That led to a job.
Mm-hmm.
Then someone else, said, it was just one thing after another.
No way.
It just so many. Krishna just came and was there for us at that moment. But in this particular case, our civilization, is set up in such a way that, and even I didn't even know this. I heard this last week on NPR. The minimum wage is only $7.25. How can you possibly survive on that in a place like New York City
Isn't it state by state? Some are 15.
Some of them are higher. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, anyway, I don't want to get too much into all that material stuff. But the point is that and Prabhupada was writing this, back in the early 60s, I think, or the late 50s. And so it's very interesting that he had, such, some things don't change, they just seem to get worse.
Yeah.
So I'll continue reading then. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of foodstuffs and who eat all sorts of rubbish are compared to hogs. So here's Prabhupada's breaking down. The first paragraph is about what a dog does. And a dog goes around looking for a master. Okay? So then, he's describing a hog, because it's dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Mm-hmm. So persons who have no discrimination in the matter of foodstuff and who eat all sorts of rubbish who are compared to hogs. Hogs are very much attached to eating stools. Such stool and trash and rubbish. So stool is a kind of foodstuff for a particular type of animal. And even stones are edibles for a particular type of animal or bird. An animal or bird. And even stones, that's what I just read. But the human being is not meant for eating everything and anything. He is meant to eat grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, sugar, etc. Animal food is not meant for the human being. For chewing solid food, the human being has a particular type of teeth meant for cutting fruits and vegetables. The human being is endowed with 2 canine teeth as a concession for persons who will eat animal food at any cost. It is known to everyone that one man's food is another's poison. Human beings are expected to accept the remnants of food offered to Lord Shri Krishna, and the Lord accepts foodstuff from the categories of leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. Bhagavad Gita 9:26, Praptam pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachstati. And I'll speak about that in a few seconds. With offer me a fruit, a flower, water, and this way, then I will accept that with love and devotion. And I will accept that. As prescribed by the Vedic scriptures, no animal food is offered to the Lord. Therefore, a human being is meant to eat a particular type of food. He should not imitate the animals to derive so-called vitamin values. Therefore, a person who has no discrimination in regard to eating is compared to a hog. So that verse, Pratam Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Priyachati. So this is a very important point, because it's not just a question of not eating meat and fish and eggs. They're specifically eating the fruits, the flowers, the vegetable like this, and fruit, the juice, the leaves, just like spinach and lettuce and water, but offered food. And here's the verses: Tam pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti apakritam asnami prayat atmanaha. And it's that word there, bhakti uparitam, offered in devotion, with love and devotion. So otherwise it's described in another verse that person who does not offer food in sacrifice and eats anything and everything, that verily you're eating only sin. You're just taking from the Lord's, He's providing us, but we're not making a proper offering in sacrifice and in love. And this is another thing that distinguishes us from the animal civilization, that it isn't just a question of going through the rituals of offering food and saying prayers. It's a question of your intentions. What is how you cook it, even how you grow it, but how you cook it, and then how you make the offering. What is the intention? We know that if we make an offering, in a rushed and hurried way, it's not the same when one, really saturates their offering, their prayers, with real love and devotion and a feeling of gratitude that I have this food, these nice foodstuffs to offer to the spiritual master, and then he offers it up the chain to the Supreme Lord. Krishna's not hungry, but he's hungry for our love. He wants to see us, I'll make this offering out of love. And that is not something an animal can do. Animals don't have that kind of, ability. Their intention is to eat, to survive. We can discriminate, and we can actually develop sentiments of love and an understanding of a higher power, the supreme controller, the supreme provider. And then with our intentions, the intent is what matters. And even in law, a person's intent, whether or not you commit an act, like whether it was an accidental crime, I accidentally, someone was injured and maybe lost their life. It was accidental, or was it intentional? These things are determined. So the Lord wants to see our intention, and that intention has to be saturated with love and devotion. Even the way we chant our rounds. That in the human form of life is important that we understand all of our activities, all of our, when we're trying to understand this philosophy and trying to, come and take part in the worship of the spiritual master and the deities in kirtan, or taking part in any kind of service, that our intention is important. That it's not just a mechanical process that we show up, sit down, and then the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There has to be the right intention. This is an important part that this distinguishes us between the animal and the human being. So, does anyone else like to say anything? Does anyone have some point they'd like to make? I can give you, I heard this class the other day, I mentioned this to Mahavira Krishna Shraya, that, I heard this in a class by Radhanath Maharaj, and he was saying that one of his German godbrothers said that, I don't know if it was a relative or someone he knew, his family knew that someone who massaged the member of the Nazi party that organized the final solution, the death camps. He was a vegetarian. So was Hitler. And when he was massaging this individual, he was talking about Buddha's principle of ahimsa, nonviolence, and he really understood it. So then he finally, at a certain point, the masseuse said, how is it, if you don't mind me asking, I see that you generally are concerned about, not harming other living entities, but how is it then these, gas chambers, the Jews? And he could see that he said, yes, but some things must be done. We must do this. So that was his intention. He really thought his intention was that this was the higher good to kill these people. But this is this is a part of the human society and the psyche of the human society, because we're rational beings. We can think that we're doing something with the right intention, but it has the opposite effect. And there's many things in Krishna consciousness, the same thing. If we're not careful, if we don't have the right intention, we could be hurting, not helping. So it's very important to have the right association and to examine our own inner world, our own inner thoughts, our own inner desires. It's a gradual process. We're slowly, being cleansed of our material desires. And it's difficult, and you can't, it's not something you can just do overnight. I mean, you have to slowly go through this process very carefully. But in the meantime, Krishna sees whatever effort, what little bit we do is accepted. So I just wanted to make that one point, that because Krishna is saying specifically, Patram Pushram Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Priyachtati. It's with bhakti. I want this food offered with love and devotion. Yes?
I was hearing, Guru gives a lot of classes every day, and he started reading and translating a little bit from Chaitanya Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
And it was all such pertinent things to what's going on here. It was saying that a person that's worshiping the deity, if they're disrespecting the devotees, then they're no better than materialistic Kanishta Adhikari.
Right.
So we have this conception that, brahmanas, have Brahman initiation. Actually, if we're not conscious of our activities and how we treat others and what we're doing at every moment, it's all for nothing, and we end up making offenses, and we end up not getting a good destination.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was some verse at the end of the last chapter that talked about pseudo devotees or something like that. I believe it was the end of the last chapter, and so there's the Kanishta Adhikari, the Majjhima Adhikari, the Uttama Adhikari, third class, second class, first class. I think maybe it might have been in this chapter. I'm not sure if Pure Krishna gave the class on that or someone else, but I remember someone was giving me a class on that. And so those are points that we have to understand, that we want to give Krishna consciousness to everyone, but we first have to make ourselves Krishna consciousness. And the human form of life, we have a sense that the animals don't have. Like certain animals have, like we were mentioning, the hog has the ability to eat anything. And other animals, they fly high in the sky like a bird, and they have such powerful eyesight they can see a dead body on the ground from a mile up or more. And hearing, other animals have incredible hearing. But none of them have this sense for understanding our existence or a sense of God. We have that sense. We have that ability in the human form of life. That is the one thing that distinguishes us. But we have to learn to see God in everyone and in everything. And that's a very delicate point about being careful how we deal with one another on a day-to-day basis and not become too familiar. It's a very difficult thing, in a community and in the process, because while we're engaging in this process, we're fasting from our material habits and that for many, many lifetimes. So while going through that purification process, certain things will come out that we're not aware of, we thought, there's nothing wrong with this part of my personality. It's not that everybody is going to be the same either. I want draw everyone's attention to a class by Bhakti Vikas Swami I heard, and it's I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, and he's talking about three of Prabhupada's disciples, Vishnu John, Jayananda, and Tamal Krishna. Did you hear that lecture?
Oh, I saw it listed.
Yeah, it's a good. It's really interesting because he describes how the movement needed the Vishnu Johns and the Jayanandas. They also needed the Tamal Krishnas. And not everybody, everybody has something good to say about Vishnu John and Jayananda who had anything to do with it. But Tamal Krishna, but he got things done. He got a lot of really important things done. Prabhupada engaged him in that way. So it's not like everybody, Krishna consciousness doesn't mean to be a Krishna conscious devotee. It's not just like everybody is, there may be some forceful, strong people. And they know how to get things done. And so we have to respect our individuality, and at the same time, we have to be careful not to cross the lines. And forget that we're actually servants of the servants of the servants. And we're very insignificant, but we're also very important to this movement. This is a very important process, a very important movement, a very important part of our transmigration through this world. And this is a rare opportunity, and we want to take full advantage of it at this time. And we feel very, very blessed to be here at this time, just 44 years after Prabhupada came here. That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. It's like saying you were here 44 years after Lord Chaitanya, was here. That's pretty incredible. And to know people that were there when it happened, that's very rare. In about 100 years from now, there won't be anyone around who was there or knew anybody who was there. That generation will be gone. And that's like if you look at the thing when they talk about all the Gospels, Luke, Mark, those different Gospels in the Bible, the New Testament, they were written 60 to 90 years, they say. So that means that these were people that knew Jesus. And that's how these things were, and they realized they needed to get it written. So we're around the same time, because Prabhupada left the planet just under 50 years ago. It'll be 50 years in 2027. that's when he left. So there's going to be less and less original Prabhupada disciples or people that associated with Prabhupada disciples who knew Prabhupada. And it's going to get, that opportunity to know what it was like to be with Prabhupada and to know what it was like to be with the founder Acharya. That opportunity is dwindling. But everything's been recorded nicely, so we're very fortunate. But the point is that through sound vibration, just like Prabhupada came to teach us how to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna left the planet 5,000 years ago, and Krishna is his name. So we're associating with Krishna through sound vibration. So we can associate with Lord Chaitanya and all of his, the 6 Goswamis and all of the devotees since then in the disciplic succession and this Sankirtan movement by hearing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, by hearing those pastimes and discussing them amongst other devotees. And by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we're always associating with Krishna and all of his associates. And by discussing the lifetimes of the pure devotees, we're associating with them as well, through sound vibration. So, and actually, in sound, Vani is higher than Vapu. So, that's part of our process. This is something an animal can't do either. So, that is the benefit of the human society. Anyway, it's actually 8:30 already, and I only read 2 paragraphs of this purport. So, I don't know if I should read the whole thing or just wait and let someone else finish it. What do you think?
It'd be a substantial class for somebody to finish it. I mean, but
It's quite
it's a
long.
class, yeah.
Yeah. In any case, I actually am going to New Orleans. So,
The Prabhupada ki.
yeah,
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
not really.